welcome back. It's Thursday the 13th of August today, and I am so pleased to be sharing my Cala Dwarf French Bean harvest with you. And I think this is the biggest harvest of French beans that I've ever had before. I know I always say that this is the biggest harvest that I've ever had, but I actually think this really is the biggest harvest ever. These French beans, these are dwarf French beans called Cala. They're a yellow French bean, and these were grown in between the tomato halos in my polytunnel. I sowed these direct earlier in the season, and they only got water that they got from my tomato halos. So every day or every couple of days when I was at the allotment, I just filled up the tomato halos, and as it dripped through, these obviously got watered as well. They didn't get loads of light because the tomatoes grew really quickly, but I am so pleased. I was worried that maybe they'd give my tomatoes blight, which they didn't, due to just having less airflow, and I thought these wouldn't do well at all because they were so dark, but definitely they have been my best bean harvest so far, and definitely next year I'm going to be giving this a go. The area where these French beans grew hasn't been fertilised, hasn't had anything on for a couple of years, or since I've actually owned that area of the polytunnel. I've never put any fertilisers anywhere other than where my tomatoes have been grown, and they've always been grown in tomato halos. So as a crop that has not needed anything apart from the seeds to grow and some water, I'm so happy with these. These, like I said, are a yellow French bean called Cala, and I'm a little bit disappointed in the colour of them. They are not, they're almost white, to be honest, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick them all off the plants, and then we'll have a weigh. Now, I did actually harvest these yesterday when I was at the allotment. I popped down for about half an hour. I harvested all of these. I also managed to find a couple of tomatoes that had fallen in the reservoir of one of the halos right at the back, which was good. But it was so hot, I just couldn't really do any filming, and I filmed the intro yesterday, and when I looked back for that, it hadn't filmed for some reason. But I just did some pottering around at the allotment, did about 10 minutes of weeding and watering my pumpkins and stuff, because I've got the 1 litre juice containers that I kind of water into, which are amazing. So I just made sure I gave those water because it had been so hot. But overnight we've actually had a really good thunderstorm last night, and it rained all night pretty much, so everything is really saturated today. So luckily we had that rain, because we'd had so much dry weather that things on the allotment were really starting to suffer, but I just didn't really, it was too hot to go and water it. But anyway, I'm going to start peeling these now, and then we can have a look at the harvest when I've got rid of all of the plants from here. Also, thank you so much for everyone that has commented on my patio makeover video. It was so good to get working on that again. I went to a shop yesterday and had a look at some wood paint for my patio table here and the rest of it. And I found some like dark oak wood colour, which I think I'm going to go for, because that cedar is a little bit too red, and I've got so much wood that needs to be done here. I don't think it's gonna, well, it's not gonna last, and it's not really gonna match the rest of the stuff. So yes, I think I'm gonna get that maybe at the weekend. And then I've measured up, or Lloyd has measured up all of the wood for the trellising that's broken around the patio as well. So hopefully I can get that ordered, and we can make a start on that next week, which will be great. Some of you might be wondering why I've actually harvested the plants now, and I'm picking the fruit off this way rather than just picking the beans off in situ and letting them flower again. But actually they were getting quite big, and where I was watering the tomatoes, quite a lot of the fruit was like kind of dangling in the reservoir, and they were starting just to go a little bit bad. So I just thought, on this occasion, I'm just going to rip them out. And had I thought about it more, and maybe next year I could have planted some beans a lot earlier, pulled them out already and planted some more beans in. And I am wondering now if I could try and get away with having a go at planting some more beans in that place. I've got some more kidney beans there, and I think maybe it's slightly too late, but because it is in the polytunnel, I might get another harvest. We'll see. I am tempted, so I might do that, but definitely it's so worth doing this. I would really recommend doing this between your tomatoes next year, and actually growing beans in containers in the polytunnel as well. Such a good idea. You can start them off earlier in pots inside the polytunnel, and then you can bring them out and they will just do so well. And in the polytunnel we just don't get any slugs or snails, which is pretty good too. So I think this is the best little bunch of beans that I've got actually out of the whole lot. They must have had more light than any of the others. But what I did was I actually grew 3 seeds together. So they grew up and kind of helped support each other, which was definitely a good one. And I got that tip from Liz over at By the Farm. She always plants all of her dwarf French beans like this. And I think it definitely works because they really hold each other together, but they also get all tangled together as well. So here they are, all harvested now, and I'm really pleased with them. They are a little bit dirty, you know, they're not the best. I should have done this yesterday because they've gone a little bit limp now. So these are definitely going to be prepared and put in the freezer, ready to go in, you know, kind of casseroles and cottage pies and things like that. But I am so pleased that I've managed to grow these for practically free for just the seeds, and yeah, it's definitely worth having a go next year. What I'm going to do as well, once I've weighed them, is I'm going to just quickly pick out the ones that look best for saving the seeds. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll be back in a second. Just been weighed and they came in at 680 grams. I did have to do them in stages because I didn't have a big enough bowl for them to go in on my weighing scales, and I was hoping you'd be able to see the numbers, but you couldn't. So yeah, 780 grams. I'm really pleased with that. I'm not sure what, you know, the what the maximum yield per plant should be or whatever, but I'm really happy with that, and especially since I did absolutely nothing, you know, apart from giving them a little bit of water. I'm so pleased. What I've done now is I have just gone through all of the seeds and I've identified the ones that I want to keep to dry and that I can have for seed next year, and this is them. And how I've decided to choose them, if I've just looked at every single one, and ones that look really muscly, where you can see the definition of the seeds in the pod, as opposed to kind of one like that, you can't really tell. So I've just gone through and picked all of these ones here, and then what I'm going to do is just put them in this little greenhouse thing here to dry for a couple of days. And I've done it actually with my aqua dolces. These are the ones that I wanted to save, so I've just put them in here for a few days, and then later on I will go through these and just pick the seeds out. Now with these French beans, if you want to save the seeds from French beans, even though they self-pollinate and should come true to seed, it's really important that you don't grow different varieties of French beans on the same kind of canes or in the same location, because they can cross-pollinate, and if you want them to be true, it's just important that you don't do that. Now with these Cala doors that I've grown, there was actually another French bean right at the back called Stanley that has grown with these, but I'm still going to actually save them and see what happens. Stanley as a bean is meant to be really prolific and meant to be a really good one. They're actually quite round, kind of like round pods compared to these types, which are slightly kind of flatter. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But because I grew them in threes, most likely if I save this many seeds, then they will come true. But yeah, I'm really pleased to be doing this. Also, what I really should have done, and if you haven't actually harvested all your beans yet, is I should have just left one plant in, not harvested it, and just let it kind of keep growing and keep ripening in the ground and let them dry out naturally in the polytunnel. But I totally forgot about that. So a lesson learned from me. I need to remember that with all of the rest of the beans. I'm going to leave the video here now though, but thank you so much for watching today. And if you're new to my channel, please do hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you can be notified of all of my latest videos. If you've enjoyed watching this harvest video, then I will put a playlist just down here of all of my other harvests for you to enjoy. And YouTube have some other videos up on the screen now that they think you'll like, so please go ahead and watch those. The next episode, which is out next Monday, is a further continuation, which is part 3 of my patio garden makeover. So I'm really pleased to be sharing that with you. And over the next weekend, I've got loads more planned here at the patio garden, so I can't wait to share that with you over the following weeks. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. Bye.